Hello and welcome to Spooning with me, Mark Wogan. As ever, I am joined here by a very special guest in the Mount Street restaurant, where I will be feeding them something they think they love and something they think they hate. The difference is, as ever, I will be blindfolding them. Now, who is my lucky guest / victim this week? Well, I have to refer to a script here because Johnny, the producer, is what can only be described as a superfan of today's guest and has written what can only be described as a very long intro that if I don't read out, he's going to get upset. So here we go. My guest today can present, he can sing, he can act, he can write, and he even recently played DJ for some Broadway bangers. A double Brit and Olivier winner. Some say love changes everything.
Oh.
But with him, you can't stop the beat when you're in his company. It's the king of the love songs and those special love letters. He has a new Together at Home album and tour with my previous spooner, Alfie Boe, and all that is left to say is, thank God he is here when he was one step out of time. He's on the ball. It's Michael Ball.
That was hilarious, Mark.
Well, we can thank Johnny for that.
Well done, Johnny.
Yeah, well done, Johnny.
Bravo.
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 And we are joined also by a very special guest today, who is Lady Seifert, Johnny's mother,
All hail.
who is also quite a fan.
Oh, that's lovely.
But you seem to garner that in people. You have an extraordinarily loyal fan base.
Yes, I do actually. I'm very, very lucky. What I love about the sort of fan family is, first of all, they've been there forever.
Mm-hmm. Like you.
And yes, 40 years, Mark.
I
Can
know.
you believe it? 40 bloody
Boy
years.
and boy.
Yes. Boy and boy.
Boy, oh
But
boy.
what happens is they all become friends amongst each other. So they'll travel around the country, around the world, to come and see what we're doing, and they then will nothing to do with me. They then support each other. They're in each other's lives, so it's a good positive thing.
But I think that's in no small part to the fact that you kind of approach your notoriety or fame in the same way that my father did, and and he had his togs,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. Is like you realise that those people are why you are where you are,
100%.
and you respect them for that.
And I bet your dad found the same thing. No one's nasty. I mean, anyone who comes up and wherever you are, if you're recognised, there's no kind of attitude. It's like it's like they're meeting a friend, which they kind of are.
Yeah.
And who doesn't want to be liked?
But you through the radio as well, which came later in the career, you really cultivated that further connection with the audience, and it is that level of loyalty. I mean, you're here to talk about your tour, and I mean, it's almost, I would imagine, pointless reading out the dates of when you're on because they're already sold out anyway.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, they're doing well. Don't get me wrong. But there's room for more people who maybe don't know. And it's interesting. I've just been doing this Les Mis arena tour, and you see audiences coming in, and it's so pan-generational that you think, okay, so if they like this, maybe they'll look at stuff that has gone before, and then they'll join the fan family and they'll come to the shows, and hopefully I'll still be doing it in another 5 years.
So Johnny, being the super fan that he is, the research this week was what can only be described as in-depth.
Okay.
And if we go back to the beginning, and those that don't know or haven't bought your fabulous memoir,
Different aspects.
born in Worcestershire.
Yeah. But don't remember it because we moved away when I was.
I know you. Well, Dad got a job. Your lovely dad, who always used to sit behind me and Dad with you at the rugby. In Twickenham.
He'd bring the cigars. Dad would bring the brandy and Benedictine.
Brandy and Benedictine, and that other weird thing that Dad used to drink, which was King's. Do you remember the King's ginger mixed with whiskey?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, that was dangerous.
Well, no, my dad used to bring the B&B.
Yeah.
And your dad used to bring. absolutely.
Honestly, we used to sit there. And there was just hip flasks flying between people. Very little rugby watched.
Yeah.
And
The way it should
back
be.
when you were able to sit there and smoke a cigar.
Yes, we were
as
smoking
well.
cigars in the stand. Big fat ones on the go.
But
the good old days, Mark.
you know, your lovely dad is still with us.
Yeah.
Nearly 90.
Yeah.
When you were a kid, he got a job with Ford, and you went to South Africa.
Yeah, we lived in South Africa from the age of 8 to the age of 11. I was there, which was really interesting. It was because we're talking 1970, so full on apartheid.
Yeah.
And just a completely different world from what we were used to in the UK. And one of the reasons I think that Dad didn't stay, they just couldn't get their head around it. So luckily we came back. He did his work. Dad fulfilled his contract and then wanted to come home.
And then you got home and they packed you off to boarding school.
I went to boarding school.
Was that because of the kind of child you were that they wanted?
No, it was because my brother had gone to boarding school and was at boarding school, and because we'd lived in Plymouth, so we were in Plymouth, and went to Plymouth College, and they thought that was the right thing to do. That a private education and a boarding school was going to be great for me.
Now you didn't follow.
It wasn't.
No.
Really
I read that didn't
Oh,
necessarily make you happy.
No.
Going to boarding.
No.
Was that because you were kind of a home boy? You wanted to be around mum. You wanted to be.
That part of that, those formative years when you're growing up, when you're going into your teens, it's a confusing time. It's
Tell me about it.
and you. The school, I mean, I don't think they were equipped to deal with it. You know, they were sort of very much of the Edwardian school
Yes.
of teaching.
Stiff upper lip.
Stiff upper lip, and all very sport orientated. And I just wanted to run around.
Because it was interesting. There is another famous alumni from that school, and you didn't follow a similar path to him.
No, but I look better in Speedos.
Yes. We are, of course, talking about the diving specialist, Tom Daly.
Sport. There you
Yeah.
go, you see.
Yeah.
And this may come as a shock, but he was slightly later at the school than I was.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you two were
we
similar
didn't
age.
quite
Similar
cross
age,
paths.
similar physique.
But I went back there, and it's changed beyond all belief. You know, it's now co-educational. The facilities are great. When I was there, it wasn't like that.
No.
And I was just miserable, and became a little bit I was never interested. I became very. I put a lot of barriers up. I put a lot of presentational things in front.
Well, luckily those got removed over the years, but but it was around about that time. It was the first time you ever went to a West End show, which was Jesus Christ Superstar. What was that? Was that a very formative moment for you?
For sure. Well, Dad had always taken us to the theatre. He wanted to be an actor, and his parents said no. They weren't supportive of that, so he went into the motor.
Similar
trade.
to me. I feel his pain.
Yeah, I know. But he'd always stayed involved with amateur dramatics and encouraged us, and we always went to the theatre. And at that time, I loved music and I loved musicals, so I would listen to, when we were in South Africa, the house that we rented was owned by a lady who had practically every soundtrack to every movie, musical, and every Broadway show. And I would sit and listen to these things and loved them. And then Jesus Christ Superstar had been a big hit album, and then hit the West End and was. So I mean, there were people protesting outside. Don't go to this
blasphemous filth.
And Dad took me to see it, and I knew the songs, and I loved them. But sitting in that theatre, the Palace Theatre, and watching this, the music and the story that I knew so well brought to life in such a vivid way, I was totally transported.
Because what you probably don't know is my first ever experience of the West End and of a musical was you in Les Mis.
My gosh.
Yeah.
40 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And that was the first time, and that was, I mean, that was such an incredible stage show at the time, and how it was staged, and it was breathtaking.
Did you see it at the Barbican or at the Palace Theatre?
At the Palace.
Okay.
At the Palace.
Yeah. I mean, it was revolutionary
No.
in every sense of the word. Les Mis, yeah.
But I mean, and I remember being just enthralled and blown away by it.
But were you a fan of musicals?
No, I'd never been to one.
It's really
And it
interesting.
changed.
Yeah.
That's what was
Yeah.
interesting about Les Mis, is it changed people's opinion of what a musical was.
Absolutely. And they didn't know. People who say they don't like musicals love Les Mis.
Yeah. I mean, I've gone on to enjoy many other musicals since
Of course,
then.
it's a gateway drug to
Yeah,
musicals.
yeah, exactly,
Absolutely
exactly.
sure. But it was. I mean, it was, and as you know, was reviewed so badly.
Yeah.
People didn't get it.
No.
Except the people got it. That's why it's the people's musicals. Why it's 40 years
Don't
old.
always trust the critics.
No,
Don't always trust
absolutely
them.
not.
But what age did you discover your voice?
It's a weird one because I always sang. Mum had taken up the piano again when we were in South Africa because there was no television. Everything was very heavily censored. So we listened to the World Service. It's where I became obsessed with Round the Horn. And I did.
Sorry,
I
went a little bit carry on there. But in
well,
my
I
own
was
head.
Speaking Polari at the age
Okay,
of 9.
very
Bard
good.
of the Boner, oh me with the dolly old eek. But Mum had played the piano very well when she was young, but never. I didn't even know she could play. There was a piano there and all the great American songbooks. So I would sit and learn all these songs and sing with her. And a lot of the songs that were on the records I was listening to were in these in the sheet music. So I would sing along with those. And people were nice about me singing. Didn't do much of it at school. They didn't like me in the choir because I was too loud and I wasn't
Trying to push yourself to the front.
I wasn't a
again,
blender. I think was tried to blend ball.
No.
But then I got involved with Surrey Youth Theatre, which was really important for me, and they did I did 2 shows with them. Under Milk Wood, which was great because of the Welsh background, I could do the accent, and then we did the
Because your
Boyfriend.
mother's Welsh,
Mum's
just to
Welsh.
point out,
Yeah,
yeah.
Mum's Welsh. And then the lady who ran the Surrey Youth Theatre, I was doing A-levels at the time very badly. And not,
Haven't got
not
any of those
interested.
myself.
Have you not?
No.
Oh, I managed.
Haven't even got any O levels.
I've got 9.
Ooh, look at you.
Really accidentally, though.
No.
And then she said to me, and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And she said, "What about drama school?" She sort of saw something in me and saw that I was drifting down all kinds of
So
paths.
off to Guildford.
So
you went.
she got me an audition at Guildford, the only place that would audition me because I was quite late in the day, and got in. And at the drama school, you do a foundation year, then you choose between musical theatre and acting, and I chose acting. But the first job I got, but there was singing quite a bit at
I'm just
at
about
drama
to go
school.
through all of this with my own son,
yeah.
who has chosen the artistic path in life.
Great.
So I will be tapping you up to speak to him about what to expect. But you were obviously an overnight success from that, because you went there in 81 and it only took 5 years for you to get your first part, which was in The Pirates of Penzance.
Well, no, the first part was in Godspell.
Oh, God,
That's
yes,
where
sorry,
I learnt.
yes.
That's where I learnt I could sing. I think that I got confidence in singing when I landed this job straight out of drama school. Spent the summer in Aberystwyth singing "Prepare Ye the Way of the Lord" and getting a wage at the end. And I thought, I'm singing, and I'm getting money for it. I can do this.
That's nice.
And then went into rep and found myself, as you say, sort of 9 months after drama school in The Pirates of Penzance.
Because another previous spooner was at Guildford as well, which was Gabby Roslin.
Gabby Roslin, year below me. Yeah. She admitted she had a crush on me. I had no idea anyone like that. I thought I was a right munter at drama school, but she
Didn't
did.
we all at that age?
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
So, Godspell first, then Manchester Opera House.
Yeah.
With Pirates of Penzance, with Bonnie Langford.
Mm-hmm.
Was
Bonnie and Paul Nicholas,
Paul Nicholas.
Victor Spinetti and Dearless Lay, and right down the bottom in a little box,
Michael Ball.
introducing.
Introducing.
I asked for an introducing, which was the best.
And that's when it really
Yeah.
sort of started to develop, and you were starting to get seen. I mean, albeit there was the odd departure. Is it true that you once played tennis in Coronation Street?
Yeah, well, the Opera House in Manchester was right opposite the old Granada studios, and the casting people would come in, and I got to know them. I had two ambitions out of drama school. One, to be in the RSC, the other to be on Coronation Street, because I used to watch it religiously with my gran and just thought it was the greatest thing ever. And I told them this, and they said, oh, well, that's interesting, because there was a couple of episodes that were not going to be filmed on their studio day, which we couldn't do because it was our matinee day, of this posh tennis player. I mean, who would you automatically think?
Exactly.
Having a fight with Mike Lavelle, Kevin Webster, over some girl. And I got that. So I land a part in Corrie. And at the same time, Bonnie's agent, Barry Burnett, had been talking to Cameron Mackintosh, and Les Mis was being cast. And there were two parts that they hadn't cast yet, Marius and Fontaine. And Barry said to Cameron, come up and see this new lad. I think you might like him. And I'd already spoken to my then agent and said, I've heard about, because two of the other people in the cast had been cast in Pirates, had been cast in Les Mis. And I'm going, what? Hello, can I be seen? And I said to my agent, they said, there's nothing in it for you, dear. There's no role.
You still got the same agent?
No, funnily enough, they didn't last very long. And Cameron came up, saw Les Mis, saw Pirates, asked me to come down and meet with Trevor Nunn and Claude Michel and Alain. Trevor, I was so excited to meet because I'd been to the RSC a lot to see plays in Stratford. Most memorably, a season of when he was artistic director, a season where Donald Sinden was doing a lot of the lead roles with Judi Dench. And he did an incredible King Lear. Incredible it was. And I just think he's the most brilliant director going. And so meeting with him, having the audition, down the following week.
But was that not terrifying? Because, I mean, what age are you then? You're
22.
22.
Yeah.
I mean, or was it that kind of the blindness of youth?
Yes, it was.
Because because if you said, right, you're going to go and sing in front of Cameron Mackintosh and Trevor Nunn, you'd be like, what?
But they made it so chilled.
Really?
They really did. We came into, it was at the New London Theatre when Cats was on. So I'm there on the set of Cats and I'm meeting, and they were just so lovely. And they gave me a nonsense lyric for Empty Chairs at Empty Tables. And you know me, my way of dealing with nerves and with insecurity is by being full on.
Yes.
And so...
Bigger than the fear.
Yes, and yeah, it kind of was. And so it was really lovely and really relaxed. I do remember Trevor coming up to me after after I'd finished and said, so if we were to offer you a non-singing role in Les Mis, would you accept it? And I went, genuinely, I really didn't do any stage management. And he went, what do you mean? I said, well, it's a through-sung musical, isn't it? So I assume you wouldn't want me on stage. You'd want me backstage.
Pulling the ropes.
Yeah. And he went, okay.
He is quite Greek.
Yes, he is young and malleable. And so it was fine. It was, I got into that and off we went.
So it's 245 quid a week.
No, it's 250 at the start.
Sorry, 250 at the start.
Yeah.
250 quid a week.
At the RSC.
At the RSC. You're getting crap reviews, and it wasn't that easy for you either.
No.
You got a bit of stage fright, anxiety, or whatever.
What happened We did it at the Barbican. Didn't know if we were going to transfer to the West End. We did 11 weeks at the Barbican and thought that's probably going to be it, because we had these dreadful reviews. And Cameron was having to make the decision: do I move it into the West End? Andrew Lloyd Webber had bought the Palace Theatre, and he had earmarked Phantom of the Opera for there. So we thought, well, we can shove a show in which will last a couple of months, and I'll put Phantom in. So they did a deal, and Les Mis, Cameron took the punt and put Les Mis in there. And we moved over. This is interesting. So I was paid 250 quid a week, which at the RSC there's kind of a structure. If you're a principal and you've worked there a lot, you get a certain amount, like 900 quid a week. If you're going down, if you're a
hold on, we're in 80. It's not all right. It's good money.
Oh, it's good money, but we were juvenile sub principals. Me,
Okay.
Francis Raffel and Rebecca Kane, Cosette and Eponine. And Francis had history because she'd done Starlight Express. So he'd agreed to pay her £255 a week when she moves in. So he docked me 5. I had to take a cut in wages to go and do it in the West End. I've made him pay since then.
Yes,
Mark. I don't want you to worry.
I'm sure you have.
But I mean, you're not going to say no. So I go into Les Mis there, and it's incredible. It is suddenly this phenomenon, and you can't get a ticket for love nor money. And towards the end of the year, I got sick. I was getting terrible tonsil illness and glands up and everything. I had glandular fever, and really badly. So they said, right, you're going to be out of the show 6 months. So I did. And then when I was due to come back, I still wasn't well. But I tried going back, and that ongoing illness started an anxiety in me, which led to panic attacks, which led to stage fright. Having gone from being the most confident kid on the block and I was suddenly terrified of doing what I was doing. And my brain went into a spiral, to the extent that I would get on the tube and the very thought of going into work would create a panic attack. So I would get off and go home. So I was constantly phoning in sick. They were happening on stage, which is overwhelming in my head, because you've got everyone, you're in the biggest hit, you're the Juve lead. Everything should be great, and you're literally clinging on, trying to desperately not show what's happening, and physically it was appalling. So I withdrew from the production. I ostensibly had a breakdown and withdrew from the production for 9 months. I just stayed in my flat. I didn't talk to anyone about it. Never sought any help. Just try to find my own way through. Self-medicating, which is never the right thing to do. And I was then given a lifeline by Cameron, who I think understood what I was going through, and they were recast. Phantom had opened, and it had been running a year, so they're changing the cast for Phantom, Christine and Raoul. And he said, right, you need to get off the pot. Come and play Raoul. It's a great role, but the attention is going to be on the person taking over from Michael Crawford. You'll be all right. You need to do, or you will have to walk away from the business.
But do you think it was him showing faith in you that shifted it for you, or was there something else that happened that you kind of got your head around?
I think I realised that I was at this crossroads, that I'm going to have to learn to deal with this in order to do what I want to do and what I would feel I was born to do.
But still a very young man.
Yeah.
At this stage. I mean, not that you're not now.
No, I am. I'm an old man.
We're not old.
I've got a bus pass and everything.
No. but I think to kind of rally yourself at that age, having experienced that, you know, so it's suddenly it's all happened. It feels like it's been taken away. Yeah. And then, because I think...
But in a sense, Mark, thank God it happened. Because I would have been an absolute two-dimensional pain in the arse on stage and off if it doesn't happen to you. if you don't have the life experiences, you know, and other things had happened in my life which I won't, you know, go into, but it made me.
I mean, you can if you want to. We're all friends here.
I know, but you know, it was the ultimate life lesson for me of dealing with mental health issues at a time when no one is discussing that. And I had been brought up to make everything look like things are fantastic.
Well, it's the Irish way, isn't it?
Well, in your world, it's the Bridgewater way. In my dad's world,
No, but it is that thing. There's that something about Celts.
Yeah.
That they can't go there.
Yeah.
They've got to kind of.
Yeah.
It'll all be fine.
Yeah.
What are you worrying about?
Yeah.
You know, it'll pass.
It'll
pass, and it's like
and,
it doesn't feel like it's
but
passing.
But more than that, you've got to be confident and successful and the most charismatic in the room and all of that. And it's
annoyingly, my father was.
But yes,
you know, so you're there going, how the hell do you do that every day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did he have demons?
No.
He didn't.
No, he was the most annoyingly self-contained, confident man.
And
we would have lots of heated discussions where I would go,
because you weren't.
No, I was a raving lunatic.
Yeah.
But it was that thing of going to him is like, you do realise you're the exception to the rule. Yeah, everyone else is out here going, I don't know what to do, and you're going, well, if I just do that, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And you're like, and it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he also acknowledged that he was very lucky, and but was able to capitalise on that luck in a way because he didn't really doubt himself. Right. Which is so weird.
That's so weird. Because riddle.
No, but I mean that is the performer's. But I don't think he naturally saw himself as a performer. So the performer's way is to drive yourself all the time forward, always thinking, "Oh, I can do better than that."
Yes, sure.
Whereas he would do something and go, "Well, that was fine," and in the eyes of everyone else, yeah, it was. But he also...
notoriously, not one bit of research did he do on anybody ever.
Never rehearsed.
I have taken that from him. He's right.
Yeah.
I learnt from... This is what I learned. When I was doing my radio show, when I'm interviewing the top turns, I came into every interview with the same thing. I know what you're here for. You're here to plug X, Y, or Z. And it is... unwritten rule, you will get your plug. I promise you. After that, I just want to chat.
Yeah.
And so I'll give you your plug, and then we'll talk about whatever happens. Yeah. And it's so much the better way. I will tell you and it relates to your dad. So we're going back about 15 years. Maybe, it must be that long. And I was talking to a very well-known singing lady who'd had some botox done, and she looked great. And she said, "Go and see this man." So I went to see this man, because I thought, well, everyone's doing it. So I went in, and I actually had botox. This is an exclusive for you. I had botox, and I came out looking like a Klingon. I literally, my eyebrows went up. This went down, and I was like that, stuck. Like
Michael's furious.
and I'm going, nothing moved, but I'm stuck like that. So I said, I can't go out. I can't be seen. I looked. The first thing I did in this sort of state, and it was wearing off a bit. Your dad had a show called Now and Then.
Yes, Wogan Now and Then.
Wogan Now and Then. So it was looking at the first times we'd worked together, and then talking about
that.
Did you? It was a lovely show. But I went on it, and people are going, "What has happened to Michael?" Because I'm literally sat there, and you're seeing all these lovely images of me.
With the irony of the title of that show.
Yes.
Now and then.
Yes.
Then was better than now.
Now
it's terrible.
So I have eschewed any.
But I think it's that thing of, like, when anybody does it, but particularly men, it just looks weird.
It does. It
Just
does.
looks weird.
And the fillers, and I'm not that I need any of those.
No.
There's plenty of natural filler going on. But yet, so no. This is me au naturel.
And it's working.
Thank you so much.
It does, because you are sort of, you got to a certain age and you seem to have just stayed there. It has
Really?
nothing appears to have changed in
no!
years.
If you move close up.
I am quite close now.
Yes, but if you saw me trying to get out of bed in the morning,
Well,
you know,
we've all got that.
It does hurt. I mean, I'm 62 now.
I mean, you look extraordinary for 62. Well, no, you do, because...
How old are you? 50?
54 now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, obviously you'd be my older brother if you were going to be a brother, but you look... It's kind of it is ageless at this stage, and I think who was the other person I interviewed recently? Simon Rimmer and you are the same age, and I think he looks good.
Yes, he
for
does.
his age, but
He
that
does.
may be because he is relatively hairless, because we have recreated the dish from your book,
Oh my God!
which is anchovy toast and deviled eggs. I mean, it's Mayfair anchovy toast and deviled eggs. How's that? Are you going to throw down a deviled egg as well?
That is, of course. What have you? It's almost a Marmite-y taste.
Yes. No. I don't know quite what he's done there, but he's
That is-
he's
oh, I
an
love it.
exceptional chef, Jamie. He's created that for you lovingly. Happy?
Yeah.
We happy?
I'll forego the.
Yeah, no. Sod the salmon sandwich.
Go
I'm gonna have a little bit of the anchovy toast, because I do love an anchovy toast.
I'd love to know how he's done his eggs.
We'll get the recipe for
Thank you.
Oh, you see,
See, that's a breakfast.
people are scared of anchovies, which I don't understand. They are so delicious.
Oh, I cook my lamb with anchovies.
Just a bit of anchovy, wrap round a little slither of garlic, and a frond of rosemary, stuck into a little hole
Yeah,
in the lamb. It's fantastic.
it's the salt and
No, it's just, you can use it like you can eat it like. I mean, I'll eat them like that out of
yeah,
the tin,
yeah.
but you can use it as a seasoning in cooking. Who does the cooking in your
Me.
house? You are the cook, aren't
Kath.
you?
In a loving, giving way, I won't let near anything. She can. No, she doesn't even do bacon and eggs very well.
And that when you walk into a room, or when you walk onto a stage or open a microphone, there's an immediate level of engagement that is just attractive. You want to engage with it, and you're very good at holding an audience as well. They don't lose interest in you.
Oh, that's a lovely thing to say.
But not everybody has that. You know, if you're on the radio, you're listening to you.
Yeah.
You know, it's not sort of a background. Oh,
Right.
there's a song now.
Yeah.
You know. How easy did you find it, that transition into radio?
I did. People won't remember this, but it was Leslie Douglas at the time. David Jacobs had his afternoon slot, 1 till 2, and she's for a week I stood in for him, and I was dreadful. I mean, properly dreadful. I didn't know, you know, I picked terrible. The producer, I don't know who the producer was, didn't like me. Was not very helpful. Just thought, what on earth is this boy coming in to do? So it wasn't great.
What year was that?
Do you know what? I have no recollection. It
Hold on,
must have
maybe
been-
I've got it in my notes here. Hold on a second. You've left that. Oh no, 2008.
No, I got good then.
Yeah, no, that was when you took over from Michael Parker.
So before, I thought that, oh, this isn't going to be, but Leslie had obviously thought something. Leslie was the former controller of BBC Two. She wasn't at that time, but when she then took over, she was giving me a lot of dep work. She obviously wanted me to be.
Oh, she liked you.
She did. So I went in and did the arts show a few times, and I went in and depped for a few other people. And she then, this is exclusive, she came to me and said, right, I've got a show for you. I want you to do a 2-hour show on theatre songs and movie songs. And I went, no. And she said, what? I said, no, I don't really want to do that. That's pigeonhole. It's not interesting. Elaine does it brilliantly.
Yes.
But I said, no, it's not what I want. She said, well, what would you want? I said, I love Parky's show. You know, it would have to be a once a week show because of my other work. But I love that kind of a magazine type of show. And lo and behold, Michael announces he's retiring. And she says, would you like to do it? And so I leapt at the chance. And I think I learnt quite quickly. When I went into that show, I inherited his show. So it was newspaper reviews and celebrity interviews and so on. So things that I was out of my comfort zone with, but I have an interest in. So and so it kind of was okay.
Well, I think initially what it did for the listening audience was hear a side of you, and you were, as much as it did seem like insanity to turn Leslie down for like a show all about the things that you.
She said I'm the only person that had ever turned a show down.
Yeah. But it showed a side to you that people didn't know. So it was.
And I thought that was
the right move.
Yeah, it was the right. I knew it was the right.
And
move.
then what happened was there was some bloke who was doing the breakfast show at the time, and he decided to retire
and nick my show
and nick your slot.
But that's genuinely what.
But you know what? But you know what was interesting about that whole period was, as the BBC were in a slight bit of flux at that point because poor Leslie had to go because two other blokes had said some funny stuff on the radio, and it all got shifted about. And then, you know, Dad stayed doing the breakfast show because there was plans for him to move, and they hadn't told him in the typical BBC way. So then he stayed for a couple of years, and then when it decided he was going to go, we had this whole conversation, and I remember really clearly, we've never talked about this, I remember him really clearly saying, but what about Michael? He's only just started in that. It's not fair to move him out of that. To which a certain person, who will remain nameless, but we'll talk about it often, went, no, it doesn't matter.
No.
And then I heard that it was sold to you that Terry went, I want that slot, which he never ever did.
Interesting.
He never ever did that.
Because they sold
because he
it to
loved
me.
you and he
I
respected
know,
you.
and I understood.
But it was
That's
it was sold to you that it was his decision.
It was his decision,
and it wasn't.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
You know,
because I went in.
We've never had an opportunity to.
He had 3 months off a year,
Yeah.
and it was meant to be me going, and I did it once, and then I thought I'm actually not an understudy, so I said no to that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he did have a lot of holidays, didn't he?
yes, he did.
I mean,
he wasn't the hardest.
Well, it was like
working.
Chris Evans always said. He's the only man who presented a breakfast show that really wasn't on at breakfast.
And quite right. But I was lucky then because they then gave me another show in the evenings, which I could pre-record, and that's where I found my voice properly. I think.
But I mean,
And it was always the understanding that when Terry stepped away, the show would go back to being mine, and they were honourable enough.
it was good.
To do that.
And I've been lucky enough to appear on that show with you many times, promoting the Terry Wogan fundraiser of the year. And you've always been a fantastic supporter of all things children.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other key thing that people who have the longevity that you have with your career is you understand that you've got to give a lot of it away.
Oh, sure.
You know, you've got to give a lot of your time away because you're given so much.
You'd love giving your time away. Actually, I get as much out of doing that as anyone else. You know, I love talking to people. I love hearing stories. I like to spread positivity. And I love to highlight people's struggles that have come through it. Because it's inspiring.
Yeah, because you've just taken, well, not just, but you followed on from another radio great
Yeah.
in Steve Wright with the love songs. But what I love about that show is how you have just moved it on a little. You haven't gone in and just done an impression of.
Well, there would have been no. When they approached me about it, about taking over, it wasn't a, oh yeah, it was a real struggle for me to make that decision. Firstly, because I loved the Michael Ball show, the 11 till 1 show, and we'd taken it so far away from what it had been when your dad did it and when Parky did it. So it was mine. It was my baby. So then to have that, and then have the potential poison chalice of taking over from one of the most beloved and brilliant radio personalities ever.
For those who don't know, we
Steve
are talking
Wright.
about the great Steve Wright.
Steve Wright. But I got. They said they couldn't think of anyone else that would be able to do it, which I didn't really understand. But it was a lovely compliment. And so my thing with them was always lovely, and we'll keep it. And what that show is about, it's about the listener. It's about the listeners' stories, about their letters and their dedications and where they are. I said, I want to up that. I want to talk to them. I think one of my biggest kicks in doing radio is the conversations where you don't know where it's going, and doing the on the ball quiz was always my favourite, because you get these people coming on who are hilarious or terrible, knowledgeable or thick as anything. And I don't
thick as mints.
And they're my favourites.
Oh, yeah.
And also heightened by that thing of being on the radio, so they're nervous and everything. And I just love the unpredictability of that. And I love the opportunity of a high, and people know me, I think, through the radio well enough to know that when I'm taking the mickey, it's in a nice way.
But I think it's that thing.
Sorry to interrupt.
Sorry.
So I wanted to keep that element of being able to speak to people and get the stories out of them, which will not only be an interesting listen, but also a helpful listen. We get people who come on who thought their life was never going to have the opportunity of loving it again, whether they've lost a partner, whether they're divorced, whether they've never had a partner, and suddenly they turn a corner and there's their person and it has worked. Or the reverse of it, that they've lost the person and they know they'll never have that again, and they want to celebrate the memory of that person, or their mum, or their brother, whoever. And I love those things.
But do you set out to make the nation sob uncontrollably?
No.
Because Johnny,
Try,
Johnny,
yes.
the producer, weeps himself stupid through every show
But I
that
do.
you do. I mean, he will cry at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, he's a pushover.
Yeah, but it is. I mean, it is an emotional listen.
Yeah.
And it's a deep listen. But it's the kind of thing that you could only do properly on radio. That would never
100%.
work. I mean, you're sort of the sort of emotional sort of wrenching that you'd get with something like Scylla's Surprise, Surprise. It works in a completely different way. But I think it's because you understand that bit, which is the less I make it about me.
Oh yeah.
Weirdly, the more it ends up being about you.
No, it doesn't.
But it does,
It doesn't.
because you have very quickly and very cleverly become the show, and obviously the participants are the show. But without you, how you steer it.
Okay, so here we're back to your dad, who taught me the best ever lesson in radio and in interviewing, which is never be afraid of silence. Never be afraid to listen. And so when people are on the phone, if I say nothing, then they will. And that's when the interesting things happen. Best lesson I ever learned. Never be afraid of it.
Well, I think
So I'm going to now be silent and see what you do.
Well, but we have got to that time of proceedings, Michael, where I offer you this fetching eye mask from our lovely friends at Smug.
This takes me back.
Yes. If you wouldn't mind popping that.
Seriously?
On. Wait, yeah, you've got to wear it. Did you not know that?
No, I had no idea.
Oh,
what
you
were
eat
doing.
blindfolded now.
Oh God. It's not going to be anything ghastly, is it?
No, not at all.
Are they? Do I look good?
You look fantastic. Leopard prints. You should
Oh,
wear
I know.
more leopard print.
I know.
So what's going to happen now is I am going to slide the next spoon in.
Aren't I trusting?
You are. You need to be on this show.
Good.
So here we go with the first spoon. I'm just going to slide this little cloche in here. Let me move that. So are you ready, Michael, for your first spooning?
Are you feeding me?
Yes, I am.
All my dreams.
Ready? We aim to please. Open wide, like properly wide. It's quite a big mouthful. There we go.
Oh.
There we go. Now, tell me what you've got there.
Bacon.
Potentially bacon. You've got the right animal.
Where's pig?
Yeah. Some people don't like to think of
Is
it
it
like
like-
that.
It's cold.
Well, it would have been hot, but we've been talking for a while.
Yeah.
Could you
Is
keep
that-
the magic alive? Oh, this lovely warm dish.
Lovely warm dish. Is there breadcrumbs involved? It's crusty.
What
Crunchy.
do you like that's crusty, Michael? Go on, take the blindfold off.
It's delicious.
No,
it's not. What is it?
We're playing to your love of pies.
It's a good pie.
Now, you love a pie at Rules Restaurant.
Yes.
But this is the new chicken, ham and leek pie here at the Mount Street Restaurant.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Because you love a pie.
Who doesn't love a pie?
I mean, if you don't like a
Don't
pie,
trust a man who doesn't like
a
that.
red wine with that, yes.
To go with it.
Not a Negroni. That wouldn't go.
A chicken ham and leek pie.
Yes. But Mayfair style.
Yeah.
So, lovely puff pastry top.
I have
there.
a-
You can have the second one. That's your spoon.
See, that's nice. That's good proportions, you see.
Yep.
The bacon is smoked bacon,
Yes.
smoked lardons. It's not runny, which is the best thing about it. Good pastry.
Made lovingly downstairs by Jamie and the team.
He's very good, Jamie.
He is very good. I can highly recommend this restaurant. Because you used to go to Rules Restaurant regularly, correct me if I'm wrong, with Mr. McIntosh. Or no, Mr. Lloyd Webber.
Mr. Lloyd Webber.
Mr. Lloyd Webber. It's so difficult to tell them apart sometimes.
Well, when I was doing, first of all, it's one of my dad's favourite, old school, and it's right opposite the stage door of the Adelphi, and that's where we did Sweeney Todd. So I had my 50th.
But haven't you you did Aspects in the Adelphi as well? Wasn't Aspects of Love in the Adelphi at one point?
No. Aspects was at the Prince of Wales, and then when we revisited Aspects, it was at the Apollo. Was it the Apollo? No, the Lyric. Beg your pardon. The Lyric in Shaftesbury Avenue. No, I did Sweeney at the Adelphi, best theatre, backstage, because the number one dressing room is stunning and overlooks Rules. So I'd always be going in there and having a...
You could
a little
shout
treat.
your order across the road.
Yes, I'm coming in for the oysters.
Because they claim to be London's oldest restaurant.
But there are others that claim that as well. Yes. Wilton's doesn't it?
Wilton's does. And then there's that, not Sweetings, is it Sweetings over in the city? They claim to be quite old.
Oh, okay.
And then there's another one in Leadenhall Market that claims to be old. I mean, they're all old.
Who cares? They're all old.
And the fact that they're still going means that they must be quite
And they're
good.
lovely.
Yeah.
They're really good.
I mean, Rules is great. And if you like your game,
Yeah.
Rules.
But I don't.
You don't like game?
No, I'm not a game bird.
That's not what I've heard.
No, I'm never, no, it's too high. It's too...
I don't like it hung. That thing where you go, here's two pheasants,
Right.
leave them in the garage for a week, they'll
why
be
would-
delicious.
No, they won't.
Eat them
They'll-
straight away.
they'll
They're
be minging.
fine. You know, or I've got a lovely deer for you here. Let's let it go off. That bit
Yes,
I don't get.
Now,
about
deer
game.
I'm all right with. It's game birds.
Well, no, the
fan.
difficult one is jugged hare. That's a difficult one.
I don't think I've ever. Yes, I have been brave enough once, and it didn't.
But that's what I like about you. You don't shy away from a challenge when it
I'll
comes
try
to food.
anything.
You'll try anything and then decide, no, that's revolting.
I mean, the
I'm
worst-
never having that again. I've got a date in a couple of dates coming up in 2025.
Yes.
Cardiff, Bournemouth,
Yeah.
Nottingham, Newcastle, Liverpool, Aberdeen, Glasgow, Leeds, Birmingham, London, and then Brighton. Out of those dates, which do you know is going to be the best eating?
London, because I'll be cooking at home.
Very good. Adding to whatever Kathy's been kind enough
To defrost.
That poor woman. The forgotten hero of Michael Ball is Kathy. Because you've been together, as you say, was it
34 years.
34 years. And do you adhere to my principle, which I've said many times, that is if you've been together that long, you've been divorced at least twice, it's just nobody left.
Yeah. that's yes. You either get through it or you don't.
Yeah.
And it's I couldn't imagine not being with her and our family, and the privilege of being part of that family is enormous, and I cherish it and I love it and I'm so proud of it. You know, to find myself in Paris over the summer watching Gracie play in the Olympics, who I've watched grow up from a zygote. It's just beautiful, and it's a privilege. And if I could tell you that we've never had a crossword,
I'd
be lying
through your teeth.
Through my teeth. I mean, that's what it's about. It's about, wanting the best for each other, not always agreeing on what that is and how to get there. But
I think
she's an extraordinary woman.
But you realise that privilege because you've, as famous as you are and as enduring as that fame has been, you've never developed what we called in our family famous person disease.
Oh, no.
Because of having people like Kathy in your life.
Well, for sure.
Who will go, Michael,
Yeah.
shut up.
Well, if your partner has been more famous than baked beans,
Yeah.
and she knows the Beatles and the Stones and all of that, and then has walked away and literally could not be less interested. You'll never see an interview with her. You'll never see her on those retrospective programs about the 60s, of which there are many.
And she was right at the centre.
Of course, Bieber wouldn't have happened without her. A number of rock groups wouldn't have appeared without her championing them. All of that sort of thing. Was married to a movie star, and just not interested. Just sees it for what it is.
One may say, how did she end up where she ended up, given the start she
Well,
had?
yes, I agree. I agree. But there's something incredibly attractive about that. She knew that the two of us couldn't have a career, and I think that's true, depending on your mentality. But I think it's difficult. And her focus, when she had Emma, was to be a mum, and that was the most important thing. She's an Irish Catholic girl, and that's what it is about. And once Emma had reached an age where she was 15, and we met, obviously it's bonkers that people are going to think that this is a relationship that's going to be successful and it's all going to end in tears. Well, boy, have we shown that isn't the case. Love is love, and
Love changes everything.
Love changes everything. How appropriate is that? So I'm truly blessed with that, and of course, it's always an ongoing negotiation.
Yep.
And I'm very much on the back foot always.
Just a series of compromises. Well,
I've not seen her make any of those.
Well, there's one thing we don't compromise on this show, and that is your second spoon.
Okay.
So if you wouldn't mind donning the blindfold again.
Okay.
Here we go. Time for the second spoon. I'll slide that in now.
I'm not good at blind tasting.
You did well.
I got the bacon.
You'd be amazed. I've had top chefs on here who can't spot dishes out their own cookbooks. There we go. Right, here we go. This is your final spoon. Open wide. Get all of that. Now, what are we getting there? What flavours? Textures? Any explosions of anything specific on your palate? On your well-seasoned palate? Hold on.
Harvey. Is that Swede?
Yes.
Harvey.
He's spitting it out. We went to great... take the blind.
Just disgusting. It was disguised.
Yes. We've
with
lovingly
stuff.
braised that.
Yeah, I'm
sweet
sure
with
you
chicken stock and butter.
And that's on the outside. You get on the inside, and there's the devil lurking in there.
Hold on a second. Let me see.
I mean, it's all sweet and caramelised.
Oh,
and
it's lovely.
Beautiful for you.
And then you've got that lovely back note of Swede.
Of Swede.
What is it?
I don't know. But it is absolutely
It's not
minging.
even that strong.
I know, but it
it
poisons everything.
That's delicious. Well, we didn't change your
You're
mind.
weird.
I'm not weird.
I mean,
Plenty of people eat Swede.
it was like potato-y. It was root vegetable and all of that, and then you get right into the bit which hasn't been touched, and it's
Right at the centre, you had the Swede. Yeah. But you know, the nice thing is, you took the time to spit it out.
I'm so sorry.
Anyway, you've been very brave, and I'm sorry that we didn't change your mind
It's okay.
about Swede.
Yeah.
But thank you for taking part.
Oh,
in
my
spooning.
pleasure, Mark.
That is all for this week. A massive thank you to Michael. Of course, we have to mention that a memoir is available.
It is?
In paperback now.
Yes.
And of course, your fantastic novel, A Backstage Betrayal.
And it's well thumbed.
It's been read. This. Don't
did
worry
you
about
enjoy
that. Yes, it's good. Well, I have completed the circle now because I've had a bow, and now I've had a ball.
I've had a ball.
And we've had a ball today, and it has been so nice having
Pleasure,
you,
Mark.
Michael. And if you, where can people get their tickets from?
LiveNation.com.
LiveNation.com, and also they can hear you Sundays 9 a.m. on Radio 2, doing a fantastic job.
Thank you, mate.
And hopefully we'll be seeing a bit more of you on our screens as well in the not too distant future.
You never know.
But that is all for this week, and thank you to Michael for taking part. Join me next week when, of course, I will have another very special guest that I will be blindfolding and feeding food that they do love and food that they perhaps don't like so much. Massive thanks, of course, to the team here at Mount Street Restaurant and to Jamie Shears for cooking what I thought was delicious Swede. Michael didn't agree. And this podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts from and on YouTube. Until next week, stay beautiful.